Hi, it's Mark Bossert from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here with David Fairbairn from Fairbairn Inspections in Vancouver. How are you doing today, David?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Mark?
I'm good. So we weathered the storm of the Google Hangout unpredictability, and now we're going to talk about how to identify a leaky condo in Vancouver. So, are there still leaky condos in Vancouver?
Very much so. Although a lot of them have been remediated by now. However, yeah, there's still a good number of them out there, and if you're buying a condo, you got to be careful.
So, what years of construction are at risk?
Typically, with the leaky condo crisis, we're looking at buildings built between 1981, 82, somewhere around there, till about 1998. And the reason for those years is a mix of, you've got different issues such as code issues, building construction methods, architecture methods. It's really a perfect storm, and it lasted for, well, 16, 17 years. And by the time we finally figured out what was going on, a lot of buildings were experiencing problems. So we've got this huge span, 1981 all the way to 1998.
So, what style of buildings are leaky condos?
Leaky condos, the ones that you see in the news, these are the ones that cost people their life savings. They were really, they failed on a huge level. We're talking about wood frame, low-rise buildings. Usually, a low-rise building, we're looking at 4 stories or less. And we're looking at buildings that are stucco, predominantly stucco-clad buildings. And of course, if you look at them, you're going to see sort of that California style of building, which was very popular around the time they were built. Of course, that style came up from California, and people like it. It looks nice. It just doesn't work when your average rainfall is 1,500 millimeters a year, as opposed to California's, I'm going to guess, around 400. So you really have to be careful with these things. So typically low-rise buildings, although it's not a hard and fast rule, we do see a lot of buildings that are high-rises that also fail as well. If you go to Yaletown in Vancouver, you'll actually see quite a few buildings that were built as leaky condos that have been remediated, or are actually, some of them are currently undergoing problems. So it's not just low-rise buildings, but those are, probably the great majority of it was low-rise stucco buildings.
So buildings built for the originally designed for the desert.
Yeah, exactly.
Foolishly, in my opinion, architected without proper overhangs or proper screening to try and deal with some place that has a minimum of 4 times as much rain and often a heck of a lot more. Given California probably hasn't had rain in 7 years right now.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the overhang point. That's the thing, is that a lot of these buildings, they had absolutely no overhang. They had no eaves coming off the roof. We got these flat roofs. They're built straight up and down. They look like a big box, and this is where our rain's getting into the wall. It's soaking in behind the wall, and it's rotting up the structure. It's you've got stains inside your condo unit. You got mold problems. I just was in one last week, and you wouldn't believe the amount of damage that can be done. It's probably one of the worst building related crises we've ever had. It's never happened up until this point.
So we've touched on it. Let's delineate what causes leaky condo syndrome.
Leaky condo syndrome is caused by a number of factors. So first of all, the California style of building. If you look at a building, in 1950s, 1960s, low-rise condo building, you're going to see a huge amount of overhang, right? You're going to see the roof projecting out over the side of the walls, and that's actually protecting the top of the wall from moisture intrusion. So in building science, we have what's called an interface. Now, an interface is a change in direction, or it's a change in material. A balcony would be a great example of an interface. So a lot of these buildings, they had exposed balconies made out of stucco, and we've got water that can just get in at these interfaces. You've got an inside corner like this. You've got the top of the wall cavity. You've got a little tiny flashing protecting a 4-story wall. It may not do that. So especially windows. Windows are really hard hit. If you're looking at what you think might be a leaky condo, look around the windows, especially on the top floors. see if there's repair work around it, because you're probably going to see a point where they've done some stucco repairs around the windows. So all these interfaces, we tripled the number of interfaces in our buildings, and all of a sudden we got all these points where water can get in. And we started using this California-style stucco. And of course, the stucco is installed in such a way that it's we've got our sheathing, right, our wood sheathing for the building. We got our building paper, and then we've got our stucco right up against that. And there's no cavity behind the stucco. So once water gets in, it's going to get trapped in that wall cavity, right? And it's not going to leave on its own. And we have very few periods of drying here in Vancouver. So we don't get a lot of sun. It's kind of a gloomy city, and it's going to get held in there, right? So basically, it starts to soak through inside it can rot out your sheathing and cause all sorts of problems. So that's a big thing. Is you've got a lot of interfaces, and you've got a sort of a style of material that it doesn't really work well with our environment.
So what's a rain screen?
A rain screen is our solution to leaky condo. So you've probably heard of this term. Most people have. It's on the news quite a bit. Rain screening is a process where we're actually removing our stucco from the building, our exterior cladding, and we're installing it. You can use stucco, but this time we're actually going to put a drainage cavity behind the wall material. So we've got this. We've got these strips, right? And we're going to put this cavity back there. So if rain does get back there, it's going to be able to vent out or drain out. And we've got these metal flashings at each floor, and water's going to be able to exit between each floor. Versus a leaky condo, which we call those face sealed buildings, where it's right up against the side. A face sealed building, you would have it just there's nowhere for it to leave. It could just keep going down forever. And I've seen it actually go down 3 stories before it even shows up. I've seen the water show up in a crawl space or a basement, and the whole basement's run out, and it actually started 3 stories up on a deck. And that's how insidious this problem is. It's really quite problematic. So the rain screening is going to give you that drying capacity, and it's also going to be a break between the floors. And of course, fresh air can come in there, it can dry out the wall cavity. And rain screening is, as far as we know, it's working very well so far. We haven't had any real problems with it. Of course, it's very expensive. So if you have to take all the stucco off your building and rain screen your building, it could be, you're probably looking at a few $1 million at least to get started with it. And if you're in a building with 38 units or 35 units, you're going to split that $3 million, $2 million cost among 38 of you. Imagine it's quite a financial hit.
Yeah, thus people walking away because they have a $250,000 rain screen special assessment, and their condo isn't even worth that in some cases. That's changed pretty radically over the last 10 years, but when this first started, that was a problem.
Absolutely, yeah. People used to walk away from their mortgages. There's that one building in Port Moody, and the bank basically bought it and said, okay, we'll do the rain screening and resell it. And, a lot of times, I've heard stories about buyers, back in the 90s buying a condo for $90,000, and the rain screen was worth $150,000. So it doesn't make financial sense, and of course that's why it was such an issue.
So, again, identifying that leaky condo, what are we looking for? Let's just bring it back to what are the points that people should be looking for?
You're looking at getting a quality home inspection. That's number one. In some cases, I actually have a blog post on my site that shows you how to actually identify a leaky condo from the street. The big thing would be if you're standing on the street, you're looking at a condo, do you see through wall flashings between the floors? That's a huge indicator that you may have a rain screen installed. You may want to, if you're thinking about buying into a building, talk to the strata and say, have you guys rain screened? Is it a full rain screen? Sometimes they'll just rain screen one wall of the building. For instance, the east wall in our buildings fails first. Almost in every case, just due to our weather patterns. So ask them, have you guys done one wall, or are you planning to do the rest of the building? Is this a full rain screen, right? So that's one of the things to look out for. Another thing would be if you see, you walk into the building, you see a bunch of repair work done to the stucco, very rare for a rain screen building to have any repair work to the stucco, especially since they've been done recently and they haven't really had a lot of failure. So if you see a bunch of repair work, or the texture changes, the color changes in some case, that's a big red flag, and you're going to want to ask about that, with your real estate agent or your home inspector. Is this building at risk for a leaky condo? So those are the best ways. If you're not sure, make sure to ask. This is a very important financial decision you're making, and it could end up saving you a significant amount of money.
So we've been talking with David Fairbairn from Fairbairn Inspections in Vancouver about leaky condos. Give him a call if you have any kind of questions about what you're at the property you're looking to buy. This guy knows just about everything and has seen a lot of it. So give him a call, 604-395-2795. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Mark. Talk to you later.
Bye.